Hi, welcome or welcome back. It feels very good to be with you again during these moments that have come to anchor my week with a small oasis of time, a brief escape from the reality that surrounds us, what I have come to think of as our break to breathe. I am not sure any of us can remove ourselves from the constant swings of hope and frustration, of the incessant dance of seeming to take one step forward, only to take two steps back. And within that framework, just when we think we have arrived at a place of comfort in terms of our personal decisions about our level of exposure and social interaction or non-interaction, we find ourselves questioning our perceptions all over again, stuck in a kind of morass of conflicting information and our own indecision. It's time to breathe, to pause, to let go, to release, to take a deep breath of return, of comfort, of acknowledgement of our still battered, agitated, sad, and possibly and simultaneously hopeful souls and spirits. Interestingly, we are moving through a very full and evocative time in our Jewish calendar. This week, on Wednesday night and Thursday, is our observance of Tisha B'Av, the day that is considered to be the saddest day in the Jewish calendar, as it commemorates the destruction of both the first and second temples in ancient Jerusalem, and is the date on which subsequent calamities befell the Jewish people throughout our history. It is a serious day of fasting and other prohibitions, second only to Yom Kippur. The Book of Lamentations, which mourns in powerful poetic language the destruction of Jerusalem, is read in the synagogue on this day. For those of you who have never heard of Tisha B'Av, or for whom it is a rather vague concept, there is a good reason for that. The Reform movement originally removed the observance of Tisha B'Av as inappropriate for those who no longer mourn the destruction of the great temple in Jerusalem, as evidenced by the fact that in the Reform movement, synagogues are by and large identified as temples. The day received renewed interest, however, as increasing numbers of children of Reformed Jews went to overnight camp and found that the only major Jewish observance of the entire summer, other than Shabbat every week, was Tisha B'Av. They resurrected it, so to speak, and brought it back to their congregations, where the adults found new and creative ways to reinstitute its observance. For our purpose, it stands as a day of sorrow, of longing and yearning for a wholeness that was once perceived and then broken. In this time of our devastation and brokenness, I see it as an opportunity to give vent and voice to our grief, to all of the major and minor losses we have and continue to experience. For those of us who have felt reluctant to express our sorrow, especially if we feel simultaneously grateful for so many blessings we continue to enjoy, this is the time in the Jewish calendar that gives us permission to grieve openly, forthrightly, unsparingly, and yet safely within the context of community, with a 25-hour time limit, and with messages of comfort, renewal, and hope awaiting us at the end of our ordeal, and with a view to moving us into a time of ultimate possibility with the High Holy Days. For now, we might examine what it has meant to a greater or lesser degree to face spiritual, physical, and emotional darkness. How does it feel to be exiled from our sanctuary, from the comfort and joy of worshiping, celebrating, observing the important moments of the Jewish year and our lives in a common sacred space? We count on being able to return, but it is dawning on all of us that our lives as we once lived them will not return to what we once knew as normal. This experience is changing and potentially will change almost everything. Our tradition tells us that Moses shattered the first set of tablets on Tisha B'Av, and that in addition to the first and second temples, this is the date on which the Jews were exiled from England, the day on which the Crusades began, as well as the Spanish Inquisition and the expulsion from the Warsaw Ghetto. It also tells us that on the afternoon of Tisha B'Av, the Messiah will one day come into the world. Thus, at the time of greatest darkness, on the saddest day of the year, there are glimmers of hope and change. We must first feel the brokenness in order to rise up from it. So, let us assume our meditative posture. Let us sit straight, but at ease. The suggestion has been made that it might be most helpful to sit on the edge of our seats, where we can be sure to stay alert to the process in which we will engage. Let us put our feet comfortably on the floor, our hands on the arms of a chair or resting in our laps, even openly in our laps. We might close our eyes or allow them to rest softly, not really focusing on anything. And let us breathe. Simply breathe. Without expectation, without manipulation. Let us just notice the breath going in and out of our bodies. We focus on this constant miracle that allows us to live our lives, and we don't even have to think about it most of the time. We do so now, so that our thoughts might just come to this moment, letting go of everything that preceded us here and everything that awaits us and about which we are contemplating, planning. Expecting. We breathe in. And notice, where might we feel the breath coming in through our nostrils, going down our throats, filling our chests and our torsos, hopefully filling our entire bodies with a sense of comfort, a sense even of renewal, of ease. And we notice the air going out, the breath going out. And even linger on that out feeling. Until our bodies say it's time to take another breath. And we do so. And if other thoughts intrude, we try just to notice them and to let them go. We will find them again, or they will find us again later on when we are finished with this oasis, this retreat from the world, this time of just breathing in and out. If we can, let us breathe in our sense of loss, of discomfort, of grief for our old normal and the illusions with which we lived so comfortably. And let us breathe out our need to hold on to a past that will probably not return as we knew it. But we feel that loss. We breathe in the reality of all we have endured and experienced. And breathe out its tentative anticipation and expectation. Let us breathe in our feelings, the complexity of them, and the richness of them. And let us breathe out our excuses, our rationalizations, our reluctance to recognize the truth of our experience as it seems to pale with that of so many whose suffering is beyond anything we have ever known. Let us breathe in the yearning and longing that is a very real part of this entire experience. And let us breathe out the restrictions we have placed upon our own souls, not to feel, not to experience. Let us breathe in the exile that we feel and have felt. And let us breathe out the denial that keeps us from the growth and renewal that facing the truth might engender. Let us breathe in the hope that awaits us. And breathe out in the midst of this community our despair. Our tradition tells us that we not only mourn in community, but that God mourns with us. The Midrash and Talmud are filled with images of God distraught by the destruction of the temple, of God weeping over the bitter grief of Israel, of God continuing to care passionately about the welfare of Israel. A sacred building is only a symbol for a deep and pervasive bond, which, unbroken, holds out the possibility of reconciliation. Let us breathe in a sense of God's presence and love. And let us breathe out our loneliness and solitude. At the conclusion of the Book of Lamentations, we read, Hashivenu Adonai Elecha v'nashuva. Return us to you, O God, and we shall be returned. Renew our days as before. I invite you to continue even at the conclusion of this particular segment. Following the breath. Allowing the reality of this experience to enter with each breath. And to breathe out. All the ways in which we constrict our souls. By way of conclusion and even benediction, I offer you a contemporary expression of that last verse of Lamentations, conceived by Rabbi Brent Rosen. For now, it is all we can do to send forth our pain, that it might somehow renew our days, not as they were before, but rather as they somehow might be. I wish you a week of health and of strength, of renewal, of discovery, of anticipating our days as they might be. Until next time, God bless you. I look forward to joining with you again.